Hello everyone and welcome to Total War Through the Ages. As mentioned last time, we're going to be going straight into a battle against the Spanish. Now this battle was really interesting for a couple of reasons, and I should say to point this out now, I deployed my army and I forgot about that one unit of Princeps, and I went ahead and started the battle. So that one unit of Princeps is in the back, so I just kind of end up having them come up as a reserve unit later on. But, so first off, the main thing that was, there were two things that in my opinion made this battle really interesting. The first off was this battle really reinforced my opinion that cavalry, having at least one unit of cavalry besides your general, is really useful. Because again, as you can see, the only unit of cavalry I have is my general. And that made this battle very difficult and just overall very interesting. So, yeah, again, not having cavalry, not a good idea. So I definitely am going, you will notice that I try and prioritize making sure that all my armies have cavalry from here on out, as well as obviously the enemy had a lot of cavalry. And the other big thing the second thing that made this battle a lot more interesting in my opinion is that I was fighting the Spanish. Now of course that sounds kind of like, well, yeah, of course it's like, well, yeah, different factions are going to be have differences and interesting, but because we've been fighting the Britons for so long, this is the first time that I fought against a faction besides the Britons in a really long time where they actually had a decent, like it was a decent sized battle, like an actual real proper decent good sized battle. So with that stuff out of the way, as you see, we move up our lines. They have the height advantage slightly. They are kind of fighting downhill, while we have to fight uphill. Now a couple of the units rout early on when they charged in. And at that point, their cavalry their one unit of cavalry crashes into our unit, and I was trying to catch them out, because the main problem in this battle, and I kind of knew this a little bit, I knew it a little bit going in, I wasn't quite prepared for it to be so drastic, is that even if the enemy cavalry routs, they actually tend to rally a decent amount of the time, and because you can't chase them down. Even with any infantry, your infantry can kind of chase them down a little bit. Now, of course, if they're light infantry, will still be able to outrun heavy infantry, but again, you can still kind of keep up with them enough to keep them routing. Cavalry, the enemy cavalry will run away from you and then rally and then be able to come back and cause you more problems later on. So I was a little bit aware of that going in, so I was trying to really focus and take out their cavalry as early as possible and trying to focus them down a lot. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that too well, partly because cavalry is cavalry and they can outrun infantry, and so it's kind of hard to catch them. You know, you kind of have to wait for the AI to charge in and then kind of try and surround them, which is what I was trying to do on the right. But as you see, our one unit routes, but their one unit cavalry routes, so we're again trying to divert it. Now the enemy center collapsed at this point, or collapsed a little bit ago, and we were able to kind of push up. Now I should have kind of spread back out into a line again before pushing onwards, because I was too clumped up and just had all my units kind of in the center, and then I had I got separated from my left. As you can see, you'll see in a moment, my left flank was quite a ways away and kind of isolated. So again, kind of mistake on my part. I should have tried to keep everyone kind of more spread out evenly, instead of being grouped up in to two different groups, kind of here on the left and then there on the right, and then a little bit in the center, and in the center as well, kind of. So at this point, the fight on the left isn't going as well as in the center. Now the fight on the right went pretty well because they mainly had cavalry, but of course their enemy cavalry did cause one or two of my units to rout on the right. I think it was only one. And then some of their cavalry got away. Now on the left, meanwhile, the fight was quite a bit more extended than it was on the center or the right, because on the center I kind of broke through and they started routing, but on the left the enemy actually held out for a long time. Now, big mistake I made here. Those units I have in the back that I turned around to face the direction of the enemy's reinforcements, big mistake. I should have taken my entire army and pushed the attack and completely finished off the main army that I was facing off against, and then turn around. Now obviously the reason I didn't do that is because I was used to, usually what I do is I'll have my one or two units of cavalry, when I have them, chase down the enemy army once I've routed it, and then have all my infantry turn around and face the enemy reinforcements coming in. However, we don't have cavalry, so yeah, you can kind of imagine how that worked out. Now right now my general right there has kind of been in an intense back and forth fight with some of their cavalry, because again, he's my only unit of cavalry and I don't want to lose my general either. So I'm trying to be I'm scared. I don't want him to charge in because the general might die, but at the same time it's I have to, because we can't do anything else. We do kill the enemy general there, which of course is good as always.
It is time to press the attack.
And with these two units back here, what I should have done is I should have had them follow the rest of the army and I shouldn't have left them back there to get engaged by the reinforcements. I should have just kept them all together. The main takeaway from this battle is, and what I could have done to do this battle better is consolidate my forces and keep everyone together. I was too split up, and as you see, I just continue to get more split up as I kind of have half my army chasing the enemy army and these guys kind of trying to hold off the reinforcements, and then the other half of my army kind of coming to reinforce to get back those guys up. But the other half, half of my army is off chasing enemies when I should have just had my entire army chase the enemies, finish them off, turn around, and then be able to fight as a consolidated unit against the reinforcing enemies. So definitely what I should have done, but I didn't. So here at this point we have my general finally gets here, and this is the first of the, I'm going to call it kind of reinforcing units, got back in here and got engaged while two of my other units were engaged. Also, a little bit of badness on my part. I kind of left that one unit sitting there not doing anything. I should have had them move faster. But we do rout, we don't rout, but we try blowing our general out, but the enemy cavalry is chasing him in. And again, like I said, I was nervous because I didn't want to lose my general in this battle, so I was a little bit concerned about that. So I don't feel like I was overly cautious with my general, but I definitely was cautious a little bit. But again, like I said, I really didn't want to lose my general, so I kind of prioritize a bit on not getting him killed. At least trying to avoid putting him in situations where he might get killed. Now, so what I should have done here, another thing, I should have had my general charge into the flank of that enemy cavalry that was engaged right there, because as you will see, by the time I get over to the other units, to where I sent him, by the time I get him over here, I guess I was wrong there. We did rout that unit, but again, by the time I get my general back to these guys, they start routing. I believe they start routing, or actually maybe I'm thinking of later on in this battle. But the point is, I should have initially just had this guy had my general charge into the back of these guys earlier, and that potentially could have helped. Been more useful than going to help this unit that we're bringing up. The flip side is, of course, doing it how I did here, I was able to bring up this unit of legionaries as reinforcements. So again, it's kind of hard to say. But our unit that was holding down the other enemy cavalry broke, and that allows the enemy cavalry to kind of charge in here. And I was really trying to get these guys to break, but unfortunately, it's one of the enemy's generals, and they did not want to break. They did not want to go down. So they just really stuck it out long enough until their reinforcements until that other unit of cavalry finished off the unit it was fighting one-on-one, came over here, got a flank charge off, causes one of my units to rout very quickly, another unit routes, and then pretty soon all three of those infantry units are routing. And at this point it was I was getting ready to charge my general back in, but then I was like, yep, nope, with two units routing, I was like, nah, I'm getting my general out of here. And as soon as I kind of moved my general away, the third and final unit did rout. So at this point I only have my general and 2 units of princeps, and you might kind of be able to guess what the results of this battle are. I tried to do a good job. I tried not to give it away until now, but yes, this does not result in a victory, as I'm sure you guys were probably able to tell just by the balance of power as well as the kind of the forces I have. One unit of princeps just get destroyed on the charge. I charged my general in here. At this point, I was really scared because I was like, man, my general is down to very few guys in his unit, and I was a little bit scared, but at the same time, I was kind of like, screw it. We already lost the battle. What do I care? Now, fortunately, my general doesn't actually die, but my last 2 units do rout, which is kind of be expected, and I lose the battle. Now, it was a pretty devastating defeat, just because I haven't lost in quite a while. At least I haven't lost against, on a battle that was that even, and I definitely could have won. And I definitely feel like I could have won that. But unfortunately, I lost, and I have to say, it was actually kind of a little bit refreshing, oddly enough, to lose, because that battle was actually a lot of fun and very challenging. And I mean, that was why it was so much fun, is because it was challenging. And again, as I said earlier, it's also why I think it was really interesting. So as you saw up north, while I was rambling on about that battle, I just did a quick little auto-resolve up north, and I have 2 armies now. You kind of saw last episode that I started those guys, and I have them now split into 2 forces to kind of attack, kind of leapfrog off of each other up in the north to try and continue pressing the Britons. There, back at our capital, you kind of saw me consolidating more forces, just doing a lot of recruitment and a lot of stuff, bringing more guys into Narbu Mardius to be retrained, and then so we can ship them off to where they need. Well, not ship them off, but where we send them back towards our currently Roman allies. Right here, very inglorious ends end for the Gauls. It's just like, yeah, this is your last settlement. Yeah, it's the last settlement. We besiege it, we auto-resolve, and we kill you. Yeah, so the Gauls are now eliminated as a faction. As you'll, I show it just here in a minute. Faction destroyed the Gauls. Like I said, was a very unglorious end. But this is a very interesting thing. So this second army, I believe last episode you caught a glimpse of me starting to form it. I kind of forgot last episode to mention it, but that second army I had begun forming or it was actually really around the same time as the first one that went over, captured Londinium. And so I land that second army there, and it's going to be moving up to essentially do a really quick and rapid invasion of Britain, because the British Isles I wanted to capture very quickly, because I didn't want it to turn into why I have, like, you know, a bunch of units bogged down trying to finish off the Britons on the British Isles. So I actually opted to have two decent-sized armies go there. That way I can basically conquer one place and have the other one already on its way to conquering. Now, really cool event here. I've never actually seen this before. A flash flooding. I've never, ever seen that. I believe it's a feature only in Rome, because I've never seen it in Medieval 2, and of course I haven't played that much of Rome, so it kind of would, you know, to be expected that I've never seen it. But again, just interesting little event that I've never seen in a Total War game. Thought that was pretty cool. And here we have our kind of our English Channel fleet, which we're going to be trying to clean up the English Channel, because it's a little pestered with a lot of tiny little, like, 1 or 2 ship fleets of the Britons. So we're going to be cleaning that up. Meanwhile, we're going to continue here in kind of part of the Northern Offensive. At this point, the Northern Offensive is winding down. The Northern Offensive will probably be over in the next episode or 2. And I'm going to kind of declare the end of the Northern Offensive essentially right around the point where I've almost entirely finished off the Britons. Now, obviously, I may not have them entirely wiped out, but essentially I will no longer be marching northwards in general. Because at this point, as you can see, the Britons actually have some territory farther to the east, so we're actually getting very close to the point where I'm going to take over all their northern provinces, and then we have to start turning to the east to actually continue conquering the Britons. So that's, yeah, Northern Offensive is coming to an end. Meanwhile, back over here at our capital, we have some really good stacks of units going. At this point, it's still not sufficient to what I want, but we will be continuing growing our forces at home once again for the Roman Civil War, which is, of course, inevitable. And here the Britons attack us, and they have a lot of mercenaries because the Britons are not doing too great, because they are, of course, getting destroyed by us, because we're way better than the Britons. So, doing our standard checkerboard deployment, we have the 2 units of Auxilia up front to kind of take the charges. And, oh boy, you have no idea how happy I was to have cavalry again. Because the last couple battles, I haven't had cavalry, and I can tell you, it really sucks. Particularly when you're used to having cavalry, and then you don't have cavalry. You know, so like you're used to having cavalry, like kind of, you know, how normally I usually had cavalry, at least 1 or 2 units, and then I had that series of battles in the last couple episodes where I didn't have any cavalry, as well as the first episode, or the first battle in this episode, again, had no cavalry. So now fighting this battle was so much fun, because it's like, yes, we have cavalry again. We can go back to playing how we normally do. Because again, I had to change up my tactics a little bit, not a lot, but just ever so slightly in those first 3 battles that were kind of one right after the other in the last 2 episodes, because of not having cavalry. So this battle, very straightforward fight. I just kind of left it in here, partly because, well, I don't like skipping battles. You know, if I do actually fight them out, I do want to use at least some of the footage from them. But also, again, it was really fun to play this battle because of the cavalry. So the enemy center charges. Really bad idea for them to do that. I don't know, like, again, like, the AI really needs some work. And again, I know this is a much older Total War game, and the AI has, in a lot of respects, improved over the years. But it's funny watching, like, the AI do just some really dumb things, charging their entire force in the center, which basically allows me to completely break their right and left. I don't really break, but it's more of that because they committed so hard on the center, they had to draw the rest of their forces in to kind of cover the sides of their center units, at which point I just was able to charge all, you know, completely wrap around them and surround them. I have my cavalry, you know, outflanking, which is so amazing to be able to outflank, because, you know, cavalry, they're amazing. I'm going to be talking about how amazing cavalry is for a while, because again, just that but yeah, so Here we have my general coming in, doing a quick rally there. Killed the enemy general, which is, of course, always great to do. And as you see, enemy general dies, almost the entire enemy army routs. Almost the entire army routs right off the bat as soon as the general dies. I thought that was a little bit surprising, actually. I was like, man, I really didn't expect that. But I guess it does kind of make sense. They had a lot of low-tier units and a lot of mercenaries. But on a side note, I will say that one last comment on the first battle against the Spanish in this episode. I do believe that I definitely would have won that battle if I'd had even one unit of cavalry. If I'd had one unit of cavalry besides my general, I'm very confident I could have won that battle. Because again, it was a very close battle, and honestly, actually, even without the cavalry, I still could have done that battle, like I mentioned earlier, if I hadn't split my forces up as much. But focusing on that battle, enemy chariots charge in and don't do so well. So we actually didn't take that many casualties, and we also inflicted a lot. So right there we have, that's the remnant of the army that got crushed by the Spanish, but we will have our vengeance. Just wait. We will. Not this episode, but eventually. So there we have a new member of the family came of age, and this is in North Africa near Carthage. Now at this point, I'm really glad that the timing worked really well, because as soon as I saw him there, I was like, ah, crap, I kind of haven't been building up my forces in North Africa, and the reason that's significant is the Scipii control territory in North Africa. So that's going to be another front that I have to worry about fighting actual other, good units and, good armies, strong armies, because they're Roman. Not obviously saying that like Rome's the best or anything, but we are. Let's be honest. But in addition, because we've taken over most of the map already between the various between myself and the Brudii, mainly the Scipii kind of suck. But the point is overall is that we actually are going to have a bit of a challenge in North Africa. So I kind of start focusing a little more on building up some forces there and trying to get some more upgraded buildings, upgraded walls and stuff like that in preparations for the Civil War. Similar to how I've been doing in my capital and kind of on our eastern border that borders with the Brudii, I've been doing the same thing. There you saw us begin the siege of the next Britain settlement. I actually believe that's the last one on the British Isles. I believe this is the last one. So yeah, I think, based off of the map, yeah, we capture the rest of the British Isles, and I don't think there's a settlement on Ireland, but I could be wrong. Either way, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday for more Total War Through the Ages, and as always, till next time.